Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. Please don't, the audio, I had just said all this. All right, hi guys. The trip I always reference, it's the only trip I have, other than we went in 2006 to Europe, but all I remember of that trip is how insane, I was 12 at the time. It was insane out in the streets in Paris, because they had just won like a semifinal for the World Cup or something. But the only other one, all right, it's the only one I can reference, is the road trip one. And southern Bavaria into Austria, through Liechtenstein, into Switzerland, and then into France again, was the most beautiful strip of Earth I have ever seen in my life. It's not even close. The Grand Canyon was pretty cool, but it's just not on the same level. And it's on, right? Everywhere was cool. Everywhere. There wasn't a non-beautiful part. It's just every valley you were in, you cross over to the next valley, and it's beautiful again. That's the thing that really stuck with me with Switzerland, was that there wasn't a jaw-dropping sight or wherever you went. Let's go.
Hey, I'm Rick Steves, back with more of the best of Europe. I'm tooting the horn
Original
for some of my favorite mountain destinations. It's the classic corners of the Swiss Alps. Thanks for joining us.
Guys, original link to the video, top of the description. Below that, link to the Discord. Would love to have you. Okay, I'm in frame. I can put that away. We're set. Hope you guys are doing well.
Switzerland draws travelers from around the world for its legendary mountains. In this episode,
Matterhorn?
We'll see no grand museums, no great cities, just jaw-dropping alpine beauty and the rich and resilient culture of the people who live here. It's a land of dramatic mountains, laced together by scenic train rides and spectacular hikes. Famous peaks are made accessible by thrilling lifts, including the highest in all of Europe. We'll enjoy alpine life, from exploring glaciers to making cheese the old-fashioned way. Switzerland is small, just half the size of Kentucky. While it has great cities, most of the country is rural and mountainous.
Luzerne, I remember that.
Kentucky. While it has great cities.
So we drove through here. We definitely didn't go to Zurich. I know that for a fact, but I think we did go through Luzerne and maybe even Bern. But like we were up there, and so we're coming this way. We go through Liechtenstein. I made sure we went through it. You don't have to go through, but I just wanted to, because it's another country. So, and then I believe we went Luzerne, Bern, back into France, and then up. And we visited the Maginot Line. I got to stop talking.
Most of the country is rural and mountainous.
A part of it,
in Zermatt, at the Matterhorn. Take the Glacier Express train ride, drop in on Appenzell, and finish in the Berner Oberland, riding lifts to the Jungfrau and the Schilthorn. Zermatt, at the foot of the Matterhorn, was essentially built for enjoying the Alps. It's hugely popular with skiers in the winter and hikers in the summer. With its many lifts, it's a springboard for countless trails and unforgettable viewpoints. The weather's great, and we're hopping a train to one of the most dramatic views in all the Alps. The Gornergrat cogwheel train has been wowing visitors since 1898. The trip comes with sweeping views, first of the town of Zermatt, then of the iconic peak that draws so many to this region, the Matterhorn. The train climbs steeply into the high country. It takes us to over 10,000 feet where we reach the end of the line. Across the tracks, an old hotel solidly caps the Gornergrat Ridge. Grand views stretch in every direction.
That's
stunning.
That was maybe one of the worst voice cracks I've ever had in my life. That is insane.
Grand views stretch in every direction. Stunning Matterhorn views demand the attention of hikers, but there's more. Monte Rosa is actually higher than the Matterhorn. In fact, at 15,200 feet, it's the highest point in Switzerland. And a 1,000-foot sheer drop below the platform stretches the mighty Gorner Glacier. It seems many of my favorite hikes start partway down my favorite lifts or train rides. Hopping off this train about midway, I'm in for a sensational yet easy hike. Getting to these exciting spots with so little work and so far from the crowds, I feel like I'm cheating. And I love it. There's just something about the Matterhorn, the most recognizable mountain on the planet, that attracts people. It's a dangerous mountain to climb. Each year, while several thousand make it to the summit, about a dozen die trying. And with global warming, the permafrost that keeps it solid is thawing, making...
Guys, isn't Annapurna 1, I think it's called, the deadliest mountain in the world? Like, some crazy percentage, like 1 out of every 4 people that attempt it die. Don't quote me on that, okay? But it's something crazy like that. Like 1 out of 3, 4, 5 people. Like that's like you have a 20% chance of dying just by going. Yeah. I hope I'm close on that. And also, can I just get this pet peeve I have with measuring mountain heights? Okay. Sorry. It's that all mountain heights are taken from elevation, right? And so comparing mountain heights in the same range of mountains is fair, right? But I want to know, like, I care more about from the base of the mountain to its peak, like, what is the tallest? I think it's Mount McKinley. It's called something else, Mount Denali, I think. In Alaska, I think, is the tallest from base to peak. But if you're doing just pure elevation into the atmosphere, then obviously Everest. Someone tell me if I'm wrong.
Falling rocks, a new hazard. Surrounding Zermatt, as if to enjoy views of the Matterhorn from every angle, are dozens of lifts and hundreds of miles of trails. As is the case throughout the Alps, handy signposts make it clear where you are, what's the altitude, and how long it takes to hike to various points. Zermatt, straddling its tiny river, is a small town of 6,000 with a big tourist industry. It has more hotel beds than residents, and they're often completely full. Nearly everyone earns a living one way or another from tourists who flock here for a peek at the peak. About 2 million visitors a year arrive by train. Cars are not allowed. Electric carts weave quietly through the pedestrians. The town is a collection of over 100 modern chalet-style hotels with a well-organized and groomed infrastructure for summer and winter sports. And this crowd-pleasing herd of traditional black-neck goats, which parades through the town every day, has had it with selfies and is heading for the barn. If you explore a bit, you can discover pockets of traditional charm.
Interesting. What is that? Is that a stone?
Pockets of traditional charm. 200 years ago, Zermatt would have looked more like this. Little more than a gathering of humble log cabins.
Even better.
Zermatt works hard to keep its visitors entertained, and tradition-loving locals seem delighted to do just that.
Sorry. Yodel. It's like a harmonica and a bagpipe and a piano had a baby. That's a accordion.
From the town of Zermatt, a mighty cable car takes us to the summit of a peak called the Little Matterhorn. Prices are steep, as the community has invested hundreds of millions of dollars in their mountain lifts in recent years. These lifts are absolutely state-of-the-art, and just experiencing them is worth the splurge. At 12,700 feet, this is the highest cable car station in Europe.
This is, I'm guessing, used for skiing in the winter. Look at that freaking drop.
At 12,700 feet, this is the highest cable car station in Europe. While the view of the Matterhorn from this angle is not the iconic postcard profile, the views from this observation deck are stunning. On a clear day, the Alps fill the horizon with all their glory. The Zermatt train station is busy each morning as travelers invest a day of their vacation to take one of the most scenic train rides in the world, riding the rails across southern Switzerland on the Glacier Express. This journey designed to maximize your...
Right there. This is what I think of when I think of Switzerland. So much of where we drove through was this. Just you're going through a valley, and then you enter another valley, and it's beautiful. If you grew up in Switzerland, you are very spoiled, and I almost feel bad for you because, well, look, it's a beautiful mountainous area, but you know there are some places like deserts that are beautiful in their own way. So I'm not saying that. What am I saying? I was going to say, it's beautiful there. I got to stop.
Your sightseeing thrills.
Was that English? I'm sorry.
Yes. This journey, designed to maximize your sightseeing thrills, features a masterpiece of railway engineering. The Glacier Express train line crosses 290 bridges and viaducts and goes through 90 tunnels in 8 hours as it connects two of the leading Alpine resorts, Zermatt and St. Moritz. Over 250,000 Alp lovers ride this train each year. People kick back and just relax, enjoying big windows for bigger views. The scenery unfolds as the train carves its way through the Swiss landscape.
I love how that cart has both the side and top windows, since you're going through next to giant mountains to look up.
Enjoying big windows for bigger views. The scenery unfolds as the train carves its way through the Swiss landscape. In the glaciers high above are born some of Europe's great rivers, which flow from here to both the Atlantic and the Mediterranean. Now we're trading away some of the staggering Alpine peaks for an insight into the Swiss and their heritage.
What about the Baltic, too? Do any rivers flow into the Baltic Sea from the Alps?
This is Appenzell, cowbell country and storybook friendly. According to legend, the devil was flying over these hills with a sack filled with houses. A sharp peak tore a hole in the sack and lots of chalets sprinkled over the countryside. To this day, the farms and hamlets remain widely scattered, and the canton of Appenzell remains one of Switzerland's most traditional. The Swiss are famously independent, and historically the big threat to their independence was the Habsburg Empire from Austria. In the Middle Ages, this region was fragmented into small cantons or states. In the 13th century, 3 of these cantons joined together to fight the Habsburgs. By 1291, they established their independence and Switzerland was born. This union eventually grew to include 26 cantons and the country we know today. Switzerland is unique among its European neighbors. It's not in the EU, and rather than the euro, it uses its own currency. This stubborn pride and the resulting survival of local traditions is one thing that makes Switzerland such a rewarding place to visit. You feel the strength of that tradition here in the town of Appenzell. Amazingly, it wasn't until 1990 that Appenzell women were given full voting rights.
Really?
This has been the capital of the canton for 400 years, and many of the buildings date back to that time.
Guys, I gotta pee quick. I'll be right back. Sorry. All right, back.
Switzerland's independence distinguished it from European
I
high
washed my hands.
culture. Back then, it took royalty or the Roman Catholic Church to pay for big-time cultural achievements. So instead of lots of grand palaces and cathedrals, today, travelers see Swiss culture on a small and personal scale. Folk museums here give an intimate peek into Appenzell's humble rural culture, with rooms replicating everyday life from where they raised their families to where they worked. In this 400-year-old building, the ceilings are low and the floors are creaky with centuries-old beams. Simple folk art shows the importance of cows and the ritual of taking the herd up to the high meadows for the summer and back down for the winter. This room shows life as it was for the herder in the high Alps, who
I'm assuming just because it's colder up in the mountains.
spent summers alone, milking cows and making cheese. This room shows life as it was for the herder in the high Alps, who spent summers alone, milking cows and making cheese. These decorative cowbells awaited the festive day when the herd would descend from the high meadow. It was a world of wood. The wood shop is where milk pails would be fashioned out of maple and fir. Soaked in water to be made pliable, assembled watertight with no nails, and then artfully carved. The woodworker's bedroom reflects the pride he had in his profession. He earned enough to afford some fine painted furniture. This wardrobe dates from 1817. Whether traveling by train or by car, mountainous Switzerland has fine infrastructure, and you can get nearly anywhere in the country in just a few hours. The Berner Oberland is a particularly scenic region. Its Lauterbrunnen Valley, which stretches south from the city of Interlaken, is a wonderful springboard for some of my favorite Swiss Alp experiences. Lauterbrunnen Valley, with its vertical sides and flat bottom, is U-shaped, a textbook example of a glacier-shaped valley. While the main town, also called Lauterbrunnen, sits on the valley floor, neighboring towns hang on cliffs high above. Lauterbrunnen means loud waters, an apt name. Waterfalls plummet from cliffs all along the valley. Staubach Falls, one of the highest in Switzerland, drops nearly 1,000 feet. The valley, with its riverside trails, traditional farmhouses, and chorus of surrounding peaks cheering you on, is a magnet for nature lovers.
How insane is that?
Chorus of surrounding peaks cheering you on is a magnet for nature lovers. Towering high above are the icy Jungfrau, Monk, and Eiger peaks, named for the legend of the young maiden, Jungfrau, being protected by the monk, or monk, from the mean ogre, or Eiger. And perched on a saddle between two of those mountains is the Jungfraujoch Station. And that's where we're going, by train. From the valley floor, a cogwheel train takes tourists and mountaineers alike on this ear-popping journey. As we gradually climb, the views continually unfold. Eventually, we arrive at Kleine Scheidig, a rail junction at the base of the peaks.
Guys, some of the roads were so sketchy. extremely well made, well maintained, beautiful roads. I'm saying where they are. Just there are some places where if your brakes gave out, okay, you're dead. You're gone. 100% chance. A million times over, gone. Okay, and that was pretty scary.
Well, over a century, this has been the jumping-off point for rock climbers attempting to scale the foreboding north face of the Eiger. Kleine Scheidegg has souvenir shops, hearty food for hikers, and rustic 19th century hotels, a reminder that tourism is nothing new here. With the craze for social media these days, and with millions of people from countries with emerging economies now able to afford that dream trip to Europe, famous destinations like this can be really crowded. Do what you can to minimize the crowds. Arrive early, arrive late, it really helps. Continuing our journey to Europe's highest train station, the ingenuity of Swiss engineers is apparent as we climb the railway they built back in 1912. Amazingly, our train tunnels through the Eiger on our climb all the way to the Jungfraujoch. Think about it. The Swiss drilled this tunnel through solid rock. It's 4 miles long. This train is smooth, and they did it 100 years ago. Why? To show off their engineering skills and to celebrate nature. Halfway up, the train stops at panorama windows. While expert rock climbers can exit here into an unforgiving world of ice and air, sightseers get their thrills by simply marveling at the icy views. Continuing up the tunnel.
Wait, so you're allowed to just step out there and walk like wherever you want? Or do you need like some special hiking license?
Giving world of ice and air. Sightseers get their thrills by simply marveling at the icy views. Continuing up the tunnel, from here the train's cogwheels earn their keep. You emerge at 11,000 feet, the Jungfraujoch. Spectacular views of majestic peaks stretch as far as you can see. Cradled among these...
I'd be really interested and curious to see the historic older paths that people with cows, herders would make in the summer and winter when they're going up or down in elevation.
Science, you understand that time...
Maybe there were put roads in place in those areas, so maybe they're not really there anymore, but...
Cradled among these giants, you understand the timeless allure of the Swiss Alps. The Jungfraujoch is like a small resort perched on a mountain ridge. From the highest viewing point, you can see the Alps Glacier, which stretches about 10 miles to the south. While shrinking with the warming global climate, it's still the longest glacier in the Alps. The air is thin. People are in giddy moods. The station is a maze of shops, restaurants, and amusements. A tunnel is actually carved through the glacier to a cavern of ice sculptures, an especially big hit for visitors from lands where ice is a rarity. Outside on the glacier, people enjoy the scene. From here, many venture even higher as a snowy trail leads to more mountain thrills. But for me, I'll call this good and savor the sense of accomplishment I get when climbing to 11,370 feet before lunch. The Berner Oberland has something...
Do you get sunburnt more easily at higher altitude? Because you have less atmosphere in the...
For everybody. Part of the fun and much of the expense of enjoying the Alps is riding the various lifts. Funiculars let hikers gain altitude quick and easy. This lift actually lets visitors ride on the rooftop, a great way to more fully appreciate the staggering beauty of the region. And once again, it's fun to leave the crowds by getting off at an intermediary station and taking a hike. There's a special camaraderie with people who actually get out and hike. And within moments, you're sharing the experience with fellow hikers and enjoying the Alps in a way so many miss. Towns like Mürren were developed to accommodate nature-loving tourists. They cater to your every need. You can stroll through traffic-free centers, and towns are springboards for a popular option, the electric bike. While service roads in the high country may be closed to regular traffic, e-bikes are more than welcome, and they make you look fitter than you actually are.
Right? I was gonna say, I'm like, geez, Rick.
While service roads
Look
in the
at
high
how
country may be
effortlessly
closed
he
to
is
regular
just
traffic, e-bikes are more than welcome, and they make you look fitter than you actually are. Remote towns may be beyond the reach of your car.
So do you just put it on a really low gear and you kind of pedal a little bit to help the electric motor? And does the motor charge that way? Or maybe it charges downhill or whatnot?
But all are accessible by various lifts. One of my favorites is the idyllic village of Gimmelwald.
Sounds like a
The
fairy tale
village,
town.
established in the Middle Ages precariously on the edge of a cliff. The village, established in the Middle Ages precariously on the edge of a cliff, was one of the poorest places in Switzerland. Gimmelwald works together like a big family. In fact, most of the 100 or so residents here share one of two last names, von Almen or Feutz. My friend Ollie, long the village school teacher, enjoys showing me around. This is the oldest house from 1658. And the woodwork is generally unpainted, just bleached in the sun. Originally hay up.
I'm sorry, but this is what I mean. Even in what was back in the day, the poorer areas of Switzerland. Oh, I feel so bad for you. Look at that awful view. It's insane.
Top and cows below. For generations, families have lovingly tended their vegetable gardens. They still are relied on to put food on the table, and this one comes with an artistic side.
Like the poorest real estate in Switzerland, of what it seemed, would be like the most insane, nice, super nice area anywhere else.
Retaining their traditional ways, farmers here make ends meet only with help from Swiss government subsidies. They supplement that by working the ski lifts in the winter. Modern tourism has contributed to the local economy as well.
Question.
Pension Gimmelwald's terraced restaurant is filled with happy hikers at dinner time, enthused by the memories they earned with today's hike.
Question. If making wine requires growing grapes on hillsides, why isn't Switzerland like huge and is it too cold to grow the grapes, or do they just need a lower altitude or something? Or maybe the Swiss just aren't interested?
I've been coming to Gimmelwald all my life, and it never gets old. With the world changing as fast as it is, I find it refreshing to know that there are places like this that still embrace their traditions. Dairy is the traditional industry here. Collecting grass to get their cows through the winter on these steep slopes is labor-intensive. Each family fills silos with enough to feed a dozen or so cows. But we're here in summer, and the cows are in the high Alp enjoying a diet of fresh grass and flowers. From their milk, some of the most prized cheese in the world is still made in the traditional way. We're joining a small tour group organized by the village tourist office. Of the countless visitors in this valley, these travelers took the initiative to enjoy this intimate peek at local culture in action. Once the milk is heated to just
Local culture. Because cheese. Get
the
it?
right temperature, the cheesemaker, using his teeth as well as his hands, masterfully scoops about 10 kilos of curds from the bottom of the cauldron. He then plops the sopping cheesecloth into a circular mold. It's quickly pressed to remove as much of the liquid or whey as possible. As the moisture is removed and the aging process begins, a wheel of wet curds becomes a wheel of Alp cheese, frequently brushed with brine and stored flat on shelves in a shed like this one for up to 2 years. In the high country, I also enjoy a chance to hear traditional music. And up here, along with yodeling, that means the long legato tones of the Alp horn. The Alp horn has a range of nearly 3 octaves, but with no valves, it's limited to the same notes as a bugle. Used throughout the Alps, this horn has played a role in this culture for 500 years. To call cows from pasture to the barn for milking, as a way for herdsmen in the high meadows to communicate with people in the valley below, and even as a call to prayer through remote valleys. Oh, and we've got time for one more Swiss summit. High above this meadow, a peak called the Schilthorn emerges from the clouds. And in good Swiss fashion, a modern cable car, the Schilthorn, called the Schilthorn,
Guys,
emerges from the clouds.
look at this. I'm no geologist, but I'm pretty sure I know what I'm looking at right here. Look at, so like this slab right here, you see this? Like right here, chunk. So that was down flat, but it was pushed upwards by other plates. And so is this where it meets? So this was essentially flat, and it was just pushed up. It was just like this, and then pushed upward like this. And that's what it looks like right there. Like right here is this, right? So this was this, and then it just goes. Am I right there?
Clouds. And in good Swiss fashion, a modern cable car, the Schilthorn Bahn, zips visitors effortlessly to its summit. In the Alps, while the valleys may be blanketed in clouds, the peaks can be brilliantly sunny. Get an early start. The peaks are often clear in the morning and then cloud up. The 10,000-foot summit of the Schilthorn awaits skiers, hikers, and sightseers, both winter and summer.
I love skiing. I've been skiing all my life, but I'm not the safest skier, which is not good. I should be more because it's selfish. You're on a mountain with other people. You need to not just ride down the mountain, okay? But I'd be afraid I'd fall off a cliff or something. I would just have to be super careful.
Which capitalizes on its role
007.
in a James Bond film, awaits with a revolving restaurant, perfect for spies nursing their 007 martinis. Meanwhile, on the panorama terrace, families pick out the peaks, while others thrill at 360 degrees of alpine splendor. For me, the majesty of the mountains is easiest to appreciate on my own private perch. As always, try to make a point to get away from the crowds, to be alone, to savor an unforgettable moment.
I think that's great advice. Go somewhere where you can be alone with your own thoughts, no one talking around, and just take it in.
Switzerland may be a small country, but its mountains are mighty, and we hope you've enjoyed this look at a few of its very best. Thanks for joining us. I'm
Thanks,
Rick
Rick.
Steves, high in the Alps. Until next time, keep on traveling.
Or keep on watching like I do.
To know that there are places like this that embrace their traditions, it makes me want to answer the phone.
Bloopers.
If anyone needs any feedback.
Great as always. I hope you guys are doing well. I would appreciate any comments, and if you've been there or from Switzerland or anyone at all, we'd love to see it. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.